Welcome to Tuesday, November 29th, 2022, your day weather podcast brought to you by Cowboy State Daily. Check them out at cowboystatedaily.com or their Facebook page. Also brought to you by WYDOT. Remember, when there's ice and snow, take it slow. And boy, certainly that's the case today across many areas of not only Wyoming, but surrounding states as an Arctic chill and snow being reported along with slick roads and highways and mountain passes in many areas. Blowing snow and cold temperatures will be what we need to be ready for here over the next 24 to 36 hours. The Arctic front will continue to keep pushing through the region. Any additional new snow is going to be pushing south and east into eastern Colorado, Colorado's front range, and then the Arctic front will just plow through a good part of the central and western United States. Then our concern is going to be on blowing snow. Winds are going to pick up later today, especially along Interstate 80 and sections of I-25. This will be especially true from Cheyenne west through the summit area to Laramie, on the way to Elk Mountain, Arlington, on the way to Rollins. It's that normal spot, that Snow Chemin Trail, where the snow that fell last night is going to blow and drift. So travelers, you really need to keep that in mind. Temperatures are going to rebound. We're going to have some weather whiplash. After a very cold day, very cold night, temperatures are going to rebound for a couple of days. Then another Pacific front will bring a slug of snow to the high country as we get on into the, let's say, Thursday night, Friday time frame with wind on the plains. And then we have another system due early next week that looks a lot like what we just experienced. Also, of note, the northern hemispheric snow cover is increasing at a very fast pace. In fact, a faster pace we've seen in a long time, and we'll show you that. Satellite photo this morning shows the area of enhanced cloudiness right here. The main low is up here in Canada, and then the Arctic air is pouring in behind it, and that Pacific jet stream energy is cutting right through here, helping to enhance that snowfall. And there you can see it in the 500 millibar chart. We've got a lot of blue up here. I want you to notice this when we show you the 500 millibar chart here. This is basically the weather patterns and the wind conditions and the temperatures at 18,000 feet where most of our weather gets derived from. Notice this blue area just continues to be shown up in north central Canada, and it really never goes away. And you'll see that in maps going forward. But here is today's system right here. The next system to come through Friday night and Saturday. So cold air is going to have an easy time penetrating and coming south into the region. And here it is. Now this is by 5 o'clock mountain time. Notice a very sharp edge between the cold and the warm air out ahead of it. Look at all that purple up there in Alaska, Northwest Territories, driving across the plains. When you see this contrast with this big warm here and this big cold here, yeah, you can expect problems, and we're going to have problems. A severe weather outbreak in the south central and southeast areas of the states, especially here in the Gulf Coast area. We're going to have heavy thunderstorm activity, tornado activity, especially into these areas right here. If you got to fly through or go through this area here later today and tonight, there's going to be some problems. Look at the cold. These are the forecasted low temperatures tomorrow morning. Lots of single digits and teens. Those gray areas showing pockets of going below zero. And you can see the cold. Look at the Central Valley of California. Low to mid 30s. Getting into the 30s across many areas of northern Arizona, and the cold penetrating pretty far south and east. Wind is going to be a problem, as we mentioned at the beginning. These are the potential wind gusts, and you see how the winds are going to be strong right along the Laramie Range, then right along and near the Snowy Range Mountains of south central Wyoming into the Estes Park area here as you get near the mountain ranges. And then all you got to do is draw Interstate 80 here, and then, yeah, oh boy, there's your blowing snow problem. But also along sections of I-25, there'll be some blowing snow as well. South Pass is an area to watch out for with increasing winds. Rule of thumb around here is when Arctic air, especially Arctic air masses, begin to move out, wind always comes in and fills that gap. And this is why we have ground blizzard warnings. Now, I want to make it clear, this is not a blizzard warning. It's a ground blizzard warning. Has been issued by the National Weather Service for that I-80 stretch between Laramie and Cheyenne here, and then around that Arlington and Elk Mountain area. This is where you have that reduced visibility and blowing snow and the black ice and the drifting conditions that you get there. This is the snowfall for the rest of today. So you can see the axis of snow shifts south and east. Lighter amounts are going to accumulate, and there you can see it there. But as we get into Thursday, the next system coming in is initially going to give us southwest flow, which means Pacific air. This is where we get the weather whiplash. We've got Arctic air today, tonight, into Wednesday. Then we have mild Pacific air coming on in for Thursday into early Friday. So temperatures very, very cold. Then they rebound, and as they rebound, yes, there'll be some pretty strong and gusty winds at times. But this guy has got to swing on through, and it does. But before it does it, look at that warmer air. See that warmer air just kind of attacking the Arctic air and kind of bulging it and pushing it east, while the really cold air now moves into the Great Lakes in the Midwest. But we have another pocket of very cold air up here into Canada. There's a lot going on. This is by noon Friday. We have a Pacific wave coming right through here. This is a mountain snowmaker right here. This doesn't do much for the plains other than make it windy and bring a few snow showers, but the mountain passes and the mountains are going to get significant snow with that Pacific wave coming in through Thursday night and Friday. And here it is. Snow will break out into the shallow Arctic air across Canada and the northern plains. Look at California. Look at the Sierra Nevada. Then you can see the heavier snows stretching into the Rockies, into Utah again. So this is just a skier's dream when you get a pattern like this, because this is where the mountains get a lot of snow. But as you can see here, east of the divide, you're not going to get much. But across the northern plains, where the snow is starting to stack up and the cold air is building, there's going to be a lot of weather going on here. And there you can see the snowfall with that secondary wave. Impressive amounts right here in the Sierra Nevada and the northwest U.S. mountains. Then this is next Monday. This looks remarkably similar to what just happened. By next Monday, we have another front, and the timing is almost exactly the same. Another push of Arctic air is going to come in. As you can see, that area of blue I talked about. See how it's still there? Well, the reason it's still there is we're getting a blocking pattern set up where we're getting a high east of Greenland, and we're getting this high that's sticking around in the eastern Pacific. So you can see extremely cold air is getting bottled up in the northern areas of the Canada, basically the western hemisphere right here into the eastern hemisphere. We've got the coldest air, but we have pockets of colder air that are getting cut off from the main flow that really have nowhere to go. They just kind of spin around. So this is very much a cold look for the northern hemisphere going into next week as well. This is the temperature anomaly by next Thursday. So you can see most of the United States coast to coast, and Canada, boy, look at Canada, very, very cold. Now you see Greenland up here, it's because of the blocking high. This warm up here in Alaska is because of the blocking high. So the cold air gets trapped. It's got nowhere to go. It just kind of wobbles around. And this is out to 15 days, out to December 14th. Here's part of that blocking high. Still here, still there, cold air trap, got nowhere to go except into the lower 48. So there's a lot of winter weather coming in December. This is the 10-day temperature anomaly for Europe between today and all the way through December 9th. Pretty darn cold in many of those areas there, especially Eastern Europe. Now, I talked about snow extent in the Northern Hemisphere. We are looking at a very interesting pattern here. The Rutgers Snow Lab at the University of Rutgers has a snow lab where they keep track of snow cover and all things ice and snow. And what they've observed here so far is that the snow extent in the Northern Hemisphere is among the highest in 56 years. This is important, especially when you're talking late November and December and you're starting to put a lot of snow on the ground in the Northern Hemisphere. That really impacts the air masses above that snow cover. So it's easier to build up Arctic air masses, and it's easier to build up a lot of cold air in those northern latitudes that can again go off to the south. So this is the trend line of where we are right here. This is the 56-year minimum. This is the 56-year maximum, and this is the average over time. So you can see we're trending on the other side of the 56-year max since they've been measuring this. So we're well on the way to building up that snow cover. Then if you were to look from the North Pole south, you can see that the snow cover right here, very, very impressive across the Northern Hemisphere. So that's a lot of snow over a lot of areas, what, 41 million square kilometers. And so you can see a little bit of a closer look into that graph there. You can see that the trend is likely going to continue along this pace from what we're seeing here for the month of December. And why it's so important is the sun angle, because right now our sun angle is getting darn close to this area right here. So if you put snow on the ground with these long nights and very short days, the snow is just not going to melt, or not melt very much. It's going to sublimate, but if you keep adding on to it, you're going to cool the air masses above it. So you're just going to naturally have a northern hemisphere going into early winter that's going to be colder because of that snow cover. The sun angle is a really, really big player this time of year when you start accumulating snow. Also, Greenland ice mass. This is something else to point out. Every summer you hear about how Greenland loses ice mass, which you would, of course, expect to happen. But look what's happening so far for the snow year in Greenland. The trend is just like the Northern Hemisphere snow cover, well above, right on the edge of the 30-year averages, and continuing to do that. So that is something else. A lot of ice and snow building in the Northern Hemisphere. Have yourself a great Tuesday. Stay warm. We'll see you tomorrow.